Hi everybody, welcome to Deb's Way. I'm Deb and you are back in my sewing room today. I'm working on finishing my project. Well, let's see here. I went with this as the top actually. This is the placemat project that I took a class at Sewing Studio for, and in the class the other day we finished one of the placemats. This was the front. That's the backing on this one. And then the trim. We finished it all up in class and even did a little bit of quilting stitches, a decorative stitch, which turned out really nice. Very easy to do on the machine and it turned out beautiful. So I have one done. I've got 3 more to go, and I thought I'd bring you back here and show you what I've got going today. I'm going to finish the other placemats. I'm going to at least finish that today. Let me put you over here to the cutting table and show you what I'm working on right now, okay? And here I have the batting down on the cutting table first, and I laid the backing down. This is one of the backings I'm using. The other one is this black material. I've got 2 of them made with backing like this and 2 with backing like this because I didn't have enough of the black material to do all of them, so that's okay. It's still a set and it still has matching fabric. So what you need to do is just position the back material on the batting, leave about an inch margin here, and then trim around the material. It doesn't have to be super neat because you're going to be trimming this all off anyway once you get it all sandwiched together and quilted together, okay? Let me finish the remaining sandwiches that I need to put together and I'll bring you back. I have all my backing and the batting cut and put together. Now I just need to safety pin the batting all together with the backing on the front. I'm making my sandwich that I'm going to quilt. That's what they call it in quilting, is a sandwich. So you just need a few pins, and I'm going to put them in the center rectangles here. And I'm going to need some more pins here, but just in the center pieces is where I'm going to put the pins. Oh, also, you need to make sure that the backing material definitely covers your front material. I've made that mistake before where the back has been a little bit short, so just make sure, because you cut your backing material an inch larger than the front, it should work out okay, but just make sure that the backing material covers the front. And you just smooth this out as much as you can as you go along. What this will do is hold everything in place while you do the quilting on the machine. And I'm putting it in the middle rectangles here, well out of the way of where I'm going to be sewing, because there's a seam here, and a seam all the way across the middle. That's where I'm going to be quilting. So I'm out of the way of all the pins, or I should say the pins are out of my sewing way, okay, and holding everything together for me. So see, I can pick it up. There's my backing, and it's looking pretty good. So let me finish the other 2 that I have left to do, and I'll bring you back when I'm ready to start quilting on the machine. I'm ready to start sewing, but first I thought I would show you that while I'm back here sewing, and I know in other people's sewing rooms they might have music going, you know, the radio or the stereo or a CD or something like that. I have a TV back here in my sewing room. Yes, I do. And it's hooked up to a Fire TV stick of some sort, a Fire Stick. I don't get regular cable, but I get a lot of movies. And so right now I've got a movie called Wild Oats on, and it stars Shirley MacLaine and I cannot think of the other lady. I'm so sorry. I know she played in a movie called Frances or something like that. But anyway, let me show you how I have my setup on one wall here opposite me with a TV on it. Or actually it's sitting on a hope chest. And I don't necessarily watch TV as I'm sewing or back here at all, doing other stuff. I have it on for noise, for background noise. That just helps me. Okay, let me show you what I've got here. That's my TV, and that's the movie playing. Okay, so I thought I'd just show you. Now, let me get busy and finish these placemats. I've already, oh, my needle came in threaded, okay. I've already set the decorative stitch and tested it. I like the size of it, so that's what I'm going with. And I've only got 3 seams to go down each placemat before they're all finished, okay? Let me get my needle threaded here again. All right. And let me get started here. And you want to just kind of spread, make sure that your backing is down smooth in the back too before you start sewing. But just kind of smooth it out as you go along. You don't have to stretch it, but just keep it smoothed out. Okay, it's all stitched, or I should say it's all quilted on the top. As much quilting as I'm going to do on these. Now what the next step is, well, I'm going to finish the other 2 that I have to quilt the top on, and then I'm going to trim it up, you know, trim all this excess material, the backing and the batting off, so it's all even around all the edges. And then I'm going to attach the binding, and I'll bring you back when I'm getting ready for that step, okay? Okay. I have finished the trimming and I'm ready to put the binding on, okay? What this class was all about is that it teaches you how to do quilting, very basic quilting, but only the size of a placemat, okay? So we have the backing, we have the batting and the front, and we quilted the front and the backing all together. Now we're ready to attach the binding. And how we do that is on the back. The binding strip is cut from whichever one of the fabrics you want to use. I'm using the orange, my medium color. And it's all up to you which fabric you want to use for what. You know, really, it's your quilt, your sewing project. So anyway, the size of binding strip that you need for this job, I'm going with, it's about 2 yards long and 2.5 inches wide. You cut as much as you can to get 2 yards long, and then you're going to put it together. And let me show you on the other end here how you sew these together to make the long strip that you need. Right sides together. You just kind of make an X in the material, and you're going to sew this way, because you want to be able to turn the material like that and make one long strip, okay? Did you get that? Right sides together, make kind of an X, I guess it is. But you're going to sew from this top corner diagonally to the far corner. And then snip off your seam and open it up. And I'll show you how I did that here. See, this was what I sewed before I trimmed it. You trim and leave about 1/4 inch along that seam and then open it up. And you can press it then if you want to, or not. It doesn't matter. I just kind of finger pressed it. But what I'm going to do to sew it on the back here is you have to fold it in half. Wrong sides together, of course. Fold it in half and attach it. There. going to attach it here with the opening edge facing the raw edge of the placemat. You can pin it down if you want to, but you're going to go ahead and sew a seam, attaching the binding on. Use about 1/4 inch seam and attach it all along. And at the corners, I'm going to show you what we're going to do to make a mitered corner. Okay? At the very beginning here, you're going to leave about a 4-inch gap, a tail, and begin your stitching the rest of the way around. I'll show you what we're going to do with this tail later on, but that's after we get all the rest of the binding attached and we're ready to finish up the placemat. So let me put this on the machine. You want to make sure that you're getting the back half of the binding strip sewn down as well. Okay, so just keep watch of that and make sure that it's in your stitching. Now this part of it I'm going to do a straight stitch on, so let me change my machine settings. Okay. There we go. And remember, I'm going to leave about a 4-inch tail. Leave an opening. Well, that should be enough. Okay. And make sure that your binding strip is all the way to the edge of your placemat. Okay. You don't need to backstitch either, just go ahead and sew. Oh, one more thing too is, if you need to signal it, about a 1/4 inch, oh, I can't see with my hand in the way, can you? About a 1/4 inch from the edge of the material here, I'm going to put a pin. That's where I'm going to stop and start working on my corner. And make sure that your pin is straight. There. That's just a signal to me to stop. Okay, and then I am going to turn the material and I'm going to finish stitching off the point. I'm going to finish stitching off the point of the material, which I know is kind of hard to see, but there's just a very small tip here of the material, and I'm going to finish stitching in the down the corner. Okay, remove your pin if you anytime there so you don't stitch over it, and then go ahead and lift everything up, pull it out, because you're going to turn the corner. And what you're going to do for the corner is miter the material. I'm going to fold it up even with the corner, and then fold it back down. And this is the tricky part, because it's kind of cumbersome. That looks good. You're going to move your material back in place under the needle. Needle down at the very edge and continue sewing. We've just mitered the first corner. So I'm going to continue on here, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done here with this part. Okay, I have finished as far as I'm going to go right now on the machine. I've got the tails here. I'm going to trim off this one a little bit. And what you're going to do with these tails, you can't see. Can't see anyway. What you're going to do with these tails is, on this one in particular, it doesn't need to be quite this long, so I'm going to trim it up here and just do it at an angle, like that. Same with this one. Open it up and trim it off to an angle. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but anyway. Fold over the tip of this corner and just finger press. So you have a little, it's not a raw edge anymore, okay? Just finger press that down and stick your other end as tightly as you can into that, I don't know what you call it, a little pouch that you made, okay? Make it as secure and tight in there as you can, and that's pretty doggone good actually. There. This is one place where you can go ahead and pin it down so it stays in place, and I'm going to go ahead back up here and finish my seam and then come back and cut this tail off. And there you go. We have the binding on. We have it overlapped. Now, some people will go ahead and stitch this with real tiny stitches. Go ahead and stitch it down, but you don't have to. Trim off this tail here. That's from that corner piece of your binding strip. Just neaten it up. And then what we're going to do is turn this over and stitch all the way around with a decorative stitch, because you're working on the front side now. So you're going to pull from the back to the front, cover up the stitching that you've got, and pull any loose threads that you have on top there. I guess I got to cut that one, but stitch it down all the way around. When you come to a corner, you can cut that a little bit if you need to trim it up and neaten it up a bit, but start with this side and then fold over your corner. Now, I don't know how well you can see this. Let me pull it up here and see. It's not going to hold together very well. That's a pretty, yeah, it's not going to hold together. But that makes a very nice, neat mitered corner. Maybe you can see a little bit there. That's what I'm going to do on all the corners. Start from the left side and then fold over the corner and stitch it in place. Okay, so let me get sewing the binding strip on, and then we're done with one of the placemats. I have two more to go. And if you want to, you can go ahead and pin this too to get you started, but I'm not going to. Just make sure you cover your stitching line from the back. Oh, and then I need to change my machine so that I have the decorative stitch again. And there it is. Okay, let me get going on this one. I'm going to finish up the rest of the placemats and then I'll bring it back when I'm all done. This is going to take a little bit of time because with the decorative stitch especially, it does take time to finish one placemat alone. Well, that's a very good corner there that I've got going. Okay, let me get started, or let me get these finished. Out really good. I finished putting the binding on the second placemat. I've got 2 more to go now, but this one is all complete. Binding is all sewn on, and yes, I did this one by machine and it worked out very nicely. Very easy to do, very fast. So I may be putting my binding on by machine in the future on all my quilts. We'll see. But I'm going to continue on and finish the rest of the placemats, and I'll bring you back. Here are the placemats all finished and in place, actually. William had me put them here at the dining room table, the formal dining room. He suggested that I move them to the kitchen nook table and see what they look like there too, so that's where I'm going next. Well, here's everything at the kitchen nook table. It just fits on a round table for 4 people. What do you think? There, I added a centerpiece that I just happened to have on hand, and I guess we're going to leave the placemats in place for a while, for right now. Yeah. Hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the holiday weekend. Stay safe. And I'll be talking to you again real soon, but for right now, it's goodbye.